Kiara's wedding ring sits on the kitchen table, not on her finger where it's lived for 7 years, not tucked safely in a jewelry box. On the scarred wooden surface between the salt shaker and Marcus's empty coffee mug, catching the gray October morning light like a small golden accusation. She stands 3 feet away, suitcase handle gripped so tightly her knuckles have gone pale. 7 years compressed into one small band of metal. 7 years of, I'm fine, and silent dinners and dreams folded so small they could fit in the back of a drawer and be forgotten. The shower stops running upstairs. Her hand tightens. She wrote a note, 11 words, rewritten 4 times at 3 a.m., still completely inadequate for what she's trying to say. I need to find myself. It wasn't your fault. It was mine, for accepting to disappear. Marcus's footsteps crossed the bedroom floor above her head. The familiar creak of the floorboard near the closet. The sound of him opening drawers. She should leave. Right now. Before he comes downstairs and uses that voice. The reasonable one. The calm one. The one that somehow makes her feel like wanting anything beyond this suffocating routine makes her selfish, childish, ungrateful. But her feet won't move. Because 7 years don't end with a note and a ring on a table. They end with the sound of your heart pounding so hard you can feel it in your throat, and the realization that you've been holding your breath for so long, you forgot what oxygen actually tastes like. The footsteps reach the top of the stairs. Kiara looks at the ring one last time. It left a mark on her finger, a pale indent like a scar. Proof that something was there. Proof that she wore it until she couldn't anymore. She turns toward the door. Kiara? His voice floats down from the stairwell. Calm. Always calm. That's what made it so hard to name what was happening. He never shouted, never raised a hand, never did anything she could point to and say, "This is abuse." He just erased her. One quiet day at a time, one dismissed dream at a time, until she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. She opens the front door. Cold morning air rushes in, sharp and clarifying. Where are you going with that suitcase? Her hand trembles on the doorknob. One step. That's all it takes. One step onto the porch and she can breathe. One step and 7 years of slow suffocation ends. She takes it. Kiara, what the hell are you doing? She doesn't turn around, doesn't explain, doesn't apologize for finally choosing herself. She just walks to her car, puts the suitcase in the trunk, and drives away from the house that stopped being a home 3 years ago. In the rearview mirror, Marcus stands in the doorway in his bathrobe, phone already at his ear. Probably calling her mother. Or his mother. Someone who will tell her she's making a mistake, that marriage is work, that she's throwing away everything for nothing. But Kiara keeps driving, because nothing is bigger than the person she lost, and she's going to find her again. If you've ever buried a dream so deep you forgot it was there, if you've ever felt like you're living to please everyone except yourself, this story is for you. Hit subscribe so we can keep bringing you stories about people who found their way back to themselves, one brave choice at a time. Your support helps us write more stories like Kiara's. 3 months earlier. Dinner at the Reed household. Pot roast braised for 3 hours until the meat falls apart. Roasted vegetables with olive oil and thyme. Bread still warm from the oven. The table is set with care. Matching plates, cloth napkins, water glasses filled precisely 3/4 full. Everything in its place. Except Kiara. She sits across from Marcus at the small dining table, fork pushing a piece of carrot in slow circles around her plate. The television murmurs from the living room. News anchors with urgent voices discussing inflation rates, weather patterns, a missing child found safe in Pennsylvania. Words that fill space without creating meaning. Marcus chews methodically, eyes fixed on his phone screen. His jaw works with mechanical precision. Chew, chew, chew. Swallow. Scroll. Repeat. The blue light from his screen casts shadows across his face. How was work? Kiara asks, her voice barely louder than the television. Fine. She waits for more. Nothing comes. Just the sound of chewing and the distant murmur of the news. Did the Johnson Project presentation go well? Handled it. 3 words. That's all she gets. She tries again, even though she knows it's futile. What did they say about the budget concerns? They approved it. He doesn't look up from his phone. What's for dessert? I made apple crisp. He grunts acknowledgement, returns to scrolling. Kiara sets her fork down carefully, precisely, in the exact center of her plate. She stares at the pot roast she spent 3 hours making. The recipe from his mother, because he likes things done a certain way. She stares at the vegetables she hand-cut while standing on her feet after an 8-hour shift at the clinic. She stares at her husband, who hasn't actually looked at her face in 3 days. Denise mentioned they're hiring another tech at the clinic. She tries again. Full-time position with benefits. Better pay than what I'm making now, and you're already working enough. I just thought we could use the extra. We're fine financially. He finally looks up, and his eyes are flat. Indifferent. No need to burn yourself out. The words sound concerned. Caring, even. But Kiara hears what he's really saying. I don't want you getting ideas. I don't want you having your own money, your own independence, your own anything. She nods slowly. Okay. Besides, you can barely keep up with things here as it is. He gestures vaguely at the kitchen. I had to wash my own coffee mug this morning because the dishwasher wasn't run last night. I worked a double shift yesterday. I didn't get home until... Everyone works, Kiara. Responsibility means handling it anyway. The familiar weight settles on her chest. The weight that says, you're not doing enough, and you should be grateful, and stop wanting things. She picks up her fork again, forces herself to take another bite. The food tastes like nothing. After dinner, she washes dishes while Marcus settles into the bedroom. She scrubs each plate with focused intensity, watching soap bubbles swirl down the drain in hypnotic spirals. The water is too hot. It turns her hands pink. But she doesn't adjust the temperature. The slight burn feels like something. Proof she can still feel. When everything gleams, when the kitchen is spotless and perfect, she dries her hands on the dish towel and walks slowly to the bedroom. Marcus is already under the covers, reading something on his tablet. He's wearing the gray t-shirt he's worn to bed for 6 years. She knows because she's the one who washes it, folds it, puts it in his drawer. She changes into an old Northwestern t-shirt, her own from college, before she dropped out. Before she met him. Before she became this smaller, quieter, careful version of herself. She climbs into bed, turns off her lamp. Darkness. Good night, she whispers. He grunts without looking away from his screen. Kiara lies on her back, staring at the ceiling. There's a crack in the plaster above the bed. She's been staring at it for 3 years. It started small, barely noticeable. Now it spiders across the ceiling in thin, branching lines. Like veins, like roots, like evidence of structural damage that no one's addressing. 7 cracks visible in the dim light from the street lamp outside. She's counted them so many times she's memorized their exact shapes. 7 cracks. 7 years of marriage. When his breathing evens into the slow rhythm of sleep, she slides carefully out of bed and pads across the room to the dresser. Opens the bottom drawer as quietly as possible. Beneath 3 folded sweaters she hasn't worn in years, there's a manila envelope, edges soft with age and handling. Design projects, 2018. Her fingers trace the faded label written in her own handwriting from 7 years ago, when her handwriting was bolder, when she pressed the pen harder into paper. She hasn't opened this envelope in 2 years. Hasn't dared to look at the person she used to be. The woman who stayed up until 3 a.m. perfecting kerning on typography projects. Who saw the world in Pantone color swatches. Who believed she could build something beautiful from pixels and imagination. That woman died slowly, quietly, with a mortgage and a husband who needed her to take up less space, Want fewer things, be easier to manage. Kiara's hand hovers over the envelope's edge. She could open it. Could look at the logos and layouts and proof that she was once someone who created things instead of just maintaining them. But if she opens it, she'll have to face how much she's lost, how much she gave away, how much she buried. She closes the drawer carefully, returns to bed, lies back down in the dark. Marcus shifts in his sleep, throwing an arm across her side of the bed. It lands heavy across her ribs. Not an embrace, just unconscious possession, claiming space even while sleeping. Kiara stares at the ceiling cracks and counts her own breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4. She makes it to 347 before she finally falls asleep. Thursday night, the 4th week of September. Marcus drinks 3 beers with dinner. Unusual, but not alarming. He's been stressed about the loss in account. By the 2nd beer, his shoulders relax. By the 3rd, his voice takes on that edge she's learned to recognize. The edge that means he's looking for a fight. He won't call a fight. You know what I realized today? He's sitting at the table, beer can in hand, staring at nothing in particular. Kiara looks up from loading the dishwasher. What's that? I work 60-hour weeks. His voice is calm, reasonable. Manage 3 major projects simultaneously. Handle client calls at midnight when something goes wrong. And I come home to a house that's barely maintained. Her stomach tightens. What do you mean? Dishes still in the sink from this morning. He gestures toward the counter where, yes, there are 2 coffee mugs. Laundry I had to fold myself because the basket's been sitting on the couch for 3 days, mail piling up on the table. I've been working doubles all week. The clinic is short-staffed because everyone has shifts, Kiara. Everyone's busy. Responsibility means handling it anyway. He takes another long drink. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm just asking for basic effort. The words land like stones, each one precisely placed to hurt, without leaving visible marks. I'm sorry. The automatic response. The reflex she's developed over 7 years. I'll do better. Sorry doesn't fold laundry. He stands, leaving the empty can on the table for her to throw away. I'm going to watch the game. He settles onto the couch, turns on the television. The volume rises, sports commentators shouting about plays and penalties and statistics that mean nothing to her. Kiara finishes loading the dishwasher in mechanical silence, wipes down the counters, folds the laundry, his work shirts, his jeans, his socks, everything precisely how he likes it. By 10:15, he's fallen asleep on the couch, neck bent at an uncomfortable angle, mouth slightly open. The television continues its loud commentary to an unconscious audience. She should wake him, should guide him to bed, should be the good wife who takes care of everything. Instead, she covers him with the Afghan from the back of the couch, grabs her old laptop and coat, and leaves the house without making a sound. The library is 10 blocks away through residential streets lined with maple trees just beginning to turn gold. It's a brutalist concrete building from the 1970s, all angular lines and narrow windows, uninviting from the outside. But Kiara has passed it hundreds of times and always wondered what it was like inside. Tonight, she finally goes in. The security guard, an older man with kind eyes, looks up as she enters. We close at 11. I know, just need 30 minutes. He waves her through with understanding that suggests she's not the first person to seek refuge here late at night. The main floor is nearly empty. A college student snores softly in the periodicals section, textbook open across his chest. An elderly man in a wool cardigan reads a thick Russian novel near the front windows, occasionally making notes in a small journal. The fluorescent lights hum their steady, boring song. Kiara heads toward the back, past rows of fiction and biography, past the reference section that looks like it hasn't been touched in years, to the last table in the corner. Far from everyone. Quiet. She sits in the wooden chair, sets down her laptop, and just breathes. No television. No judgment. No weight pressing on her chest. Just silence and books and the smell of old paper. She opens the laptop. It's 6 years old, fan wheezing like it has asthma, screen flickering before stabilizing. The desktop loads slowly, showing her reflection in the black background before icons appear. Dark circles under brown eyes that used to be bright. Hair pulled into a messy bun with strands escaping everywhere. The thin gold necklace her mother gave her at graduation. For my brilliant daughter. May you shine always. When did she stop shining? When did she start just existing? Excuse me. Kiara looks up, startled. A man stands about 10 feet away, balanced on a small ladder, replacing a burnt-out bulb in one of the reading lights. He's Asian, Korean maybe, with dark hair that falls slightly into his eyes, thin framed glasses, a gray cardigan over a white button-down. He has the quiet, careful presence of someone who's spent more time with books than people. He finishes installing the bulb, climbs down, tests the light. It flickers once, then glows steadily. Then he walks to a storage closet Kiara hadn't noticed, opens it, and returns carrying a small portable heater. Without asking, without explaining, he plugs it in near her table and angles it in her direction. It's going to get even colder soon, he says. His voice is soft, marked with a light Korean accent that rounds his vowels. Library's heating system is old. This section gets the worst of it. Kiara blinks. Oh, thank you. He nods, then seems to actually see her for the first time. His eyes, dark brown, serious, focus on her face. Are you okay? It's a standard question. The kind people ask without expecting a real answer. The kind she's trained herself to deflect with an automatic, I'm fine. But something in the way he asks, genuine concern without intrusion, real interest without demand, makes her pause. I just needed a quiet place. He considers this answer with surprising gravity, as if she said something profound. The library is good for that. Quiet is underrated. He doesn't ask why she needs quiet at 10:30 on a Thursday night. Doesn't offer advice or judgment. Just acknowledges her need and respects it completely. I'm June, he says, adjusting his glasses. I work here. Closing tonight. Kiara. Take your time, Kiara. I won't kick you out at 11 sharp. Sometimes people need a few extra minutes. He says it like he knows. Like he's seen other people show up desperate for silence, for safety, for space to breathe. June returns to the main desk, leaving her in the warm glow of the new light and the gentle hum of the heater. Kiara opens a blank document on her laptop, stares at the blinking cursor, tries to remember what she wanted before she learned to want nothing. 15 minutes pass. She types nothing. Just sits in the warmth and quiet, feeling something in her chest loosen slightly. Then a paper cup appears at her elbow. She startles, looks up. June is already walking away, pushing a cart of returned books toward the stacks. She picks up the cup. It's hot, almost too hot to hold comfortably. The smell hits her. Chamomile tea. No sugar. No milk. Just plain chamomile, exactly how she likes it. How did he know? Maybe he didn't. Maybe it's just coincidence. But the gesture, small, kind, expecting nothing in return, cracks something inside her chest. Not breaks. Cracks, like ice in spring. The first sign of thaw. Kiara wraps both hands around the warm cup, and for the first time in months, she cries. Silent tears that slide down her face and drip onto the table. Tears that taste like relief and grief, and something she hasn't felt in so long she almost doesn't recognize it. Hope. Saturday morning, Marcus leaves for his weekly poker game at 9 a.m. He'll be gone until at least 4 p.m., 6 or 7 hours of the house being emptied of his presence, his expectations, his constant low-level monitoring of whether she's doing enough, being enough, performing the role of wife adequately enough. Kiara stands at the bedroom window and watches his car pull out of the driveway. Watches it disappear down the street. Waits another full minute to make sure he's really gone, that he hasn't forgotten something and turned back. Then she sits on the bedroom floor and opens the manila envelope. 8 projects spill out across the hardwood. Each one is mounted on thick presentation board, the kind design students use for portfolio reviews. Each one represents late nights and creative fire and the electric thrill of making something from absolutely nothing. Logo design for a fictional organic juice company. A citrus slice morphing into a sun, clean lines, vibrant color palette. She remembers spending 16 hours perfecting the gradient. Magazine layout for a literary journal that never existed. Serif headers, generous white space, pull quotes that breathed. She remembers her professor writing exceptional typography in red ink. Complete branding package for a coffee shop called Common Grounds. Logo, menu design, loyalty card, interior signage mock-ups. She remembers presenting this one last. Remembered her classmates actually applauding. She designed these 7 years ago, in her final semester, before dropping out to marry Marcus. He'd proposed in April, got down on one knee in her cramped student apartment that smelled like coffee and ambition, said he couldn't wait another year, said he needed to start their life together now. Why delay? We know this is forever. She'd said yes with 3 weeks left in the term, told herself she'd finish the degree later. Then the wedding happened. Small ceremony, his family and hers, a reception in a restaurant basement, and the job at the clinic to help with the new mortgage, and Marcus's student loans, and the car payment, and somehow later turned into never. Now, looking at these yellowed pages with corners starting to curl, she sees a ghost. A woman who existed in high-resolution color before fading to grayscale. A woman who stayed up until 4 a.m. arguing with classmates about whether Helvetica was lazy or brilliant. A woman who believed she could build beauty from pixels and imagination and sheer stubborn will. Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. Marcus. Picking up groceries on the way home. Need anything? She types, "No, I'm good." Send. But she's not good. She's a shell-performing goodness. An actress who's forgotten she's acting. Kiara gathers the projects, slides them back into the envelope, and this time, she doesn't hide it in the bottom drawer beneath sweaters. She leaves it on her nightstand, visible, in plain sight. A quiet rebellion, a promise to herself. I was this person once. Maybe I can be her again. Tuesday night. Kiara tells Marcus she's meeting Denise for coffee. He barely looks up from his tablet. Don't be out too late. I won't. We need to talk about the credit card statement when you get back. Some charges I don't recognize. Her stomach tightens. She bought the notebook for sketching, $15 at the art supply store, but she just nods. Okay. She drives to the library instead of the coffee shop. June is reshelving books in the biography section when she arrives. He's standing on the small ladder again, sliding books into their precise homes with careful attention. He glances over when the door chimes, offers a small nod of recognition. No surprise, no questions. Just acknowledgement. Kiara finds the back table, her table now somehow, and spreads out her laptop. The heater is already running in the corner. Did he turn it on when he saw her come in? Or does he just leave it running every night now? She opens a blank document, types a single sentence. I used to be a designer. Stares at it, deletes it, types. I want to be a designer again. Deletes that too. 20 minutes pass. She types nothing permanent, just practices writing and deleting the same truths over and over, like scales on a piano. June walks by with his cart of returns, moving with quiet efficiency. He doesn't stop, doesn't speak. But 5 minutes later, she notices a small piece of paper beside her laptop that wasn't there before. A flyer, printed on bright yellow paper. Free online graphic design fundamentals. 6-week course. Manda starts October 15th. No prerequisites. Certificate upon completion. At the bottom, a website URL. Kiara picks up the flyer, reads it 3 times. Her heart starts beating faster. She looks toward the main desk. June is helping an elderly woman find a cookbook for diabetic-friendly recipes, pointing to shelves, writing down a call number. He's not looking at Kiara at all. Coincidence? Or does he see more than she realizes? She folds the flyer carefully, precisely, into a small square and tucks it into her coat pocket. When she leaves at closing time, she pauses at the door and looks back. June is organizing the return bin, back-turned, completely absorbed in his task. She almost thanks him, almost crosses the room and says, "I know what you did, and thank you for seeing me." But the words stick in her throat. So instead, she walks home through the cold night, hand wrapped around the folded paper in her pocket like a secret, like contraband, like hope smuggled past checkpoint guards. At home, Marcus is already in bed, tablet glowing. How was Denise? Good. Her son got accepted to graduate school. Kiara changes into her sleep shirt, climbs into bed, turns off her lamp. In the darkness, she listens to Marcus's breathing even out into sleep. Then she retrieves her laptop from her bag and, sitting in the bathroom with the door locked and the fan running to cover any noise, she opens the course website. The landing page shows student work, logos, posters, app interfaces, all of it polished, professional, possible. She scrolls through the syllabus, color theory, typography, layout principles, portfolio development. Her finger hovers over the register button. 7 years of maybe later compressed into one click. Not tonight. She's not ready. But soon. She bookmarks the page, clears the browser history, returns to bed. Marcus doesn't stir. Kiara lies in the dark, feeling her heart beat against her ribs like something trapped trying to get out. Thursday. Kiara's day off from the clinic. She spends the morning doing laundry, grocery shopping, cleaning the bathroom until it gleams. By noon, she's sitting in the clinic break room anyway. She came to drop off paperwork, scrolling through the course website on her phone. Denise drops into the chair beside her, unwrapping a tuna sandwich from home. "You look different." Kiara locks her phone quickly. "Different how?" "Can't put my finger on it." Denise tilts her head, studying her with the attention of someone who's seen every kind of human suffering walk through the clinic doors. Less tired, maybe, or less resigned. Just sleeping better. Denise takes a bite, chews thoughtfully. Her eyes don't leave Kiara's face. "You know, I stayed married until I was 40. This isn't the first time Denise has mentioned her divorce, but she's never elaborated, has never told the whole story. Kiara leans forward slightly. "What made you leave?" "1,000 small things. Then one morning I woke up and realized I'd been holding my breath for 15 years. Denise wipes her mouth with a napkin, carefully, precisely. "I thought leaving would kill me. Thought I'd fail, end up homeless, lose everyone. What happened instead? I got a smaller apartment, worked extra shifts for a while. My mother didn't speak to me for 2 years. Thought I'd lost my mind." Denise smiles slightly. "But you know what? I could breathe again. And breathing turned out to be more important than anyone's approval." Kiara's throat tightens. "Your son. Does he resent you for it?" "Roberto calls every Sunday. Told me last year he was glad I left. Said he hated seeing me shrink into nothing." Denise reaches over, touches Kiara's hand briefly. "Kids see everything, even when we think we're hiding it perfectly." Kiara doesn't have children. For years, Marcus said they'd wait until things stabilize financially. Then it became, wait until I make senior project manager. Then it became, maybe in a few years when we're in a better place. Now she wonders if she unconsciously avoided bringing a child into this hollow house. If some part of her knew. "Why are you telling me this?" Kiara asks quietly. Denise stands, throws away her sandwich wrapper, adjusts her scrubs. "No reason. Just thought you might need to hear that leaving is possible. Surviving is possible. Being happy again, that's possible too." She leaves Kiara alone with the humming refrigerator and a question she's been avoiding for 3 years. What am I waiting for? Permission? It's not coming. The perfect moment? It doesn't exist. Marcus to change? He won't. So what's left? Just her. Just the decision. Just the terrifying leap from one life into an unknown other. Kiara pulls out her phone and navigates back to the course registration page. Stares at it until her shift starts. Friday, 2 a.m. Marcus snores softly beside her. Not loud, just that low, rhythmic sound that means he's deeply asleep. Kiara slips out of bed carefully, testing each movement. Takes her laptop from her bag without making the zipper sound. Pads quietly to the bathroom. Locks the door. Sits on the closed toilet lid with the laptop balanced on her knees. Opens the registration page. The form is simple enough. Name, email address, educational background, goals. Then the essay question. Why do you want to learn graphic design? 150 words minimum. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. Because I buried this dream 7 years ago and I can't breathe anymore. Because I look in the mirror and don't recognize the woman staring back. Because my husband asks me every day in 1,000 small ways to be smaller, quieter, less, and I'm afraid if I keep shrinking there will be nothing left. Because I used to create beautiful things and now I just maintain a house and a marriage and a life that doesn't feel like mine. Because I'm 32 and terrified this is all there is. Because I need proof I still exist. She deletes it. Types instead. To expand my professional skills and explore creative interests that complement my current healthcare career. Safe, bland. A lie wrapped in professional language. But it's enough to get her through the door. She fills in the rest quickly. Contact information, emergency contact. She lists Denise instead of Marcus. Preferred learning format. When she reaches the final page, her finger trembles over the submit button. This is it. This is the moment. 7 years of maybe later, and I can't, and what's the point, compressed into one click. She presses it. Registration successful. Check your email for access credentials and welcome information. Your course begins October 15th. We're excited to have you join us. Kiara closes the laptop. Sits in the dark bathroom with her hands shaking. Her email pings. The welcome message has already arrived. She opens it. Welcome to Design Fundamentals. You're about to embark on a creative journey that will challenge and inspire you. She reads the entire email twice, then clears her browser history, clears her email trash, turns off the laptop, returns to bed on silent feet. Marcus shifts when she settles back under the covers. You okay? Her heart stops. Bathroom. He rolls over, already half asleep again. Kiara lies rigid beside him, eyes wide in the darkness, feeling like she's just planted a bomb with a very slow fuse. Something has started that can't be stopped, and she's terrified, and she's exhilarated, and she has no idea what comes next. The course starts Monday, October 15th. Kiara logs in during her lunch break at the clinic, sitting in her car with the doors locked, earbuds in, watching the welcome video. The instructor, a woman named Sarah Chen with silver-streaked black hair and bright red glasses, speaks directly to the camera. Design is problem-solving made visible. You're going to learn to see the world differently. Ready? Kiara whispers to the screen. Yes. She devours the first module that same night, sitting at the library until closing. Color theory. Warm versus cool, complementary schemes, psychological associations. She takes notes in the notebook she bought, the $15 purchase that Marcus noticed on the credit card statement but hasn't mentioned yet. By Wednesday, she's finished 3 modules, stays up until 1 a.m. working on her first assignment, redesigning a local business logo. She chooses a fictional bakery, sketches ideas in her notebook while Marcus sleeps. The act of drawing again, even rough sketches, feels like remembering a language she used to speak fluently. Thursday morning, she's at the kitchen table before work, coffee cooling beside her, pencil moving across the page. refining the bakery logo. A rolling pin that doubles as a wheat stalk, curves that suggest warmth and handmade care. Marcus comes downstairs, dressed for work, stops when he sees her. What's that? She looks up, caught. Just doodling. He walks over, picks up the notebook, flips through pages of rough sketches and notes. His expression is unreadable. Design stuff. It's not a question. I'm taking a course, online. It's free, it doesn't interfere with work. I'm doing it in my own time. Design. Graphic design. Just fundamentals. You're 32. The number lands like a stone thrown at glass. As if age has an expiration date on learning. As if being 32 means she's used up her chances. It's something I used to love. Before we got married. Before what? His voice is perfectly calm. That's worse than yelling. Before you had responsibilities. Before you were an adult. That's not fair, isn't it? He sets the notebook down with deliberate care. Kiara, I don't understand this. You work full-time, 40+ hours some weeks. We have a house to maintain, bills to pay, a life to run. When exactly do you plan to, become a designer? It's not about becoming anything. It's just for me, for personal growth, for you. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Sharp, cold. You can barely keep up with laundry and you want to play designer in your spare time? The word play burns like acid. I'm not playing. I'm learning. There's a difference. Same difference. He grabs his coat from the hook by the door, his briefcase from the counter. Do what you want, Kiara. Waste your time however you see fit. Just don't let it affect what actually matters. And what actually matters? He turns to look at her fully. This house, this marriage, your responsibilities, reality. The door closes behind him with a soft click that somehow sounds like a gavel. Kiara sits at the table, staring at her notebook. Her hands shake. Coffee cold. Morning light streaming through the window, indifferent to her collapsing world. She closes the notebook carefully, gets dressed for work, brushes her teeth, pulls her hair back, goes through the motions of being fine. But something inside her has shifted. Something has cracked that can't be repaired. At the clinic, Denise takes one look at her face and pulls her into the supply closet. What happened? Marcus found my sketchbook. And he thinks I'm wasting time, playing, being irresponsible. Kiara's voice cracks. He made me feel so small. Denise's expression hardens. You are not small. You're waking up, and that terrifies him. Why? Because asleep, you were manageable. Denise grips her shoulders. Awake, you're dangerous. That night, Kiara goes to the library. She needs sanctuary, needs a place where wanting things doesn't feel like a crime. June is at the desk, processing returned books with methodical attention. He sees her walk in, sees something in her face, and his expression shifts. Concern flashing briefly before settling into his usual quiet calm. She takes her table, pulls out her laptop, opens the course module, but the words blur. Marcus's voice loops in her head. You're 32. You can barely keep up. Play designer. What actually matters? Chamomile? June stands beside the table holding a paper cup. She looks up at him, really looks, and sees genuine care in his eyes. Not pity, not judgment, just witnessing. You remembered. You seem like a chamomile person. Despite everything, the ghost of a smile touches her face. What does a chamomile person mean? Someone who needs gentle things. Someone who's used to being strong for everyone else. He sets the cup down. How's the course? She blinks, surprised. How did you know it worked? The flyer I left you. You took it. Haven't seen you look defeated until tonight, so I assumed you'd actually registered. He adjusts his glasses, a nervous gesture she's starting to recognize. What happened? My husband found out. June's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. And he thinks it's a waste of time. That I'm playing. That I'm neglecting what actually matters. She wraps her hands around the warm cup. Maybe he's right. Is he? I don't know anymore. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe... Stop. June pulls out the chair across from her. Only the second time he's done this, and sits. Can I tell you something? She nods. My sister was married at 23. To a man who seemed perfect on paper. Good job, good family, respectful. But over 5 years, she just vanished. Became this quiet ghost who smiled when expected and said nothing when she had opinions. He takes off his glasses, cleans them with his shirt. I watched it happen, didn't know how to help. What changed? She left. Took 3 years of planning, saving money secretly, finding an apartment, building escape routes. But she left. How is she now? Happy. Remarried to someone who treats her like a person, not an accessory. She has a garden, paints watercolors, laughs so loud it startles people. He puts his glasses back on. She told me last year that the hardest part wasn't leaving. It was accepting that wanting things didn't make her selfish. Kiara's eyes sting. Your sister is brave. So are you. June's voice is gentle but firm. You're here, aren't you? Taking the course. Creating things. Remembering who you are. Marcus doesn't see it that way. Because you changing terrifies him. You asleep was safe. You awake is threatening. The words echo what Denise said. 2 people who barely know her, both saying the same thing. Maybe it's true. They sit in silence. Outside, rain starts. Light at first, then heavier, drumming against the windows. June finally stands. I should finish closing procedures. But Kiara, you've changed since that first night. You look less like you're drowning. I feel like I'm drowning differently. Like I used to be drowning in resignation. Now I'm drowning in possibility. Possibility is worth drowning in. He walks back to the desk, leaving her with cooling tea and that statement hanging in the air. Kiara opens her laptop, and despite everything Marcus said, she completes Module 4, Typography Fundamentals. She takes notes on kerning, leading, hierarchy, loses herself in the technical beauty of letter forms. When the library closes at 11, she's finished the entire module and started the first assignment. Outside, the rain has stopped. The sidewalks glisten under streetlights. The air smells clean, electric, full of possibility. Kiara drives home slowly, practicing what she'll say if Marcus is awake. But when she arrives, the house is dark. He's already asleep. She changes quietly, slides into bed, stares at the ceiling cracks she's memorized. But tonight, they look different. Not like damage. Like a map of somewhere else she could go. 2 weeks pass. October slides into November. The trees outside the clinic turn full autumn gold and copper. The air gets sharp enough to sting. Kiara completes Module 6, Logo Design Principles. Her final project earns a comment from the instructor. Excellent use of negative space, strong conceptual thinking. Have you considered pursuing this professionally? She reads the comment 17 times, screenshots it, saves it in a folder she's labeled, Evidence I'm Not Crazy. At home, Marcus implements small sabotages. The Wi-Fi gets accidentally unplugged. She discovers it 2 hours into a lecture, scrambles to reconnect, misses crucial information. He schedules a dinner with his mother on the exact night Kiara has a live lecture with Q&A. I already told her we're coming. Can't cancel now, she'd be devastated. Kiara skips the lecture, sits through dinner with Mrs. Reed, who spends 2 hours talking about Marcus's cousin's successful law career while pointedly not asking Kiara a single question about her life. He asks her to run errands during her scheduled study time. Can you pick up my prescription? The pharmacy closes at 6. Even though he gets off work at 4 and passes 3 pharmacies on his commute home. Never shouting. Always reasonable. Always with plausible deniability. But Kiara sees the pattern now. sees how he's trying to make the course so difficult, so exhausting, that she'll quit on her own, and he can say he never forced her to stop. She adapts. Uses the library's Wi-Fi exclusively. Declines dinners with, "I have a shift," even when she doesn't. Runs his errands at 6 a.m. before he's awake. Marcus grows quieter. The silence at home becomes arctic, a cold so complete it burns. Friday night, Kiara arrives at the library at 8 p.m. 3 hours earlier than usual. She can't stay in that house another minute. June is shelving books in the history section, working his way through a cart of thick volumes. He looks over when she enters, and something crosses his face. Relief, maybe, or recognition of another person seeking shelter. Early tonight, he observes, needed to escape. She doesn't elaborate. Doesn't need to. June just nods with the understanding of someone who knows what it means to flee. An hour later, June approaches with 2 cups of tea instead of 1. Sets one in front of her, keeps one for himself. Sits down across from her without asking permission. This is new. Usually he maintains careful distance. Tonight something has shifted. "Can I see what you're working on?" Kiara hesitates. Showing someone her work feels vulnerable, like opening a vein and hoping they don't find the blood disgusting. But she turns the laptop screen toward him. A logo for a fictional eco-friendly clothing brand. A leaf morphing seamlessly into a hanger. Clean vector lines. Muted sage green palette. Hours of work compressed into something that looks effortlessly simple. June studies it carefully, leaning forward slightly. His eyes track every curve, every detail. After a long moment, he looks up. "This is beautiful. It's just an assignment." "No." His voice is firm. "It's more than that. This is proof you didn't disappear. You just went underground for a while." Kiara's throat tightens dangerously. "June, I'm not trying to..." He stops, recalibrates. "I just want you to know. Whatever you decide about your life, your marriage, any of it, you're not lost. You're finding your way back." Their hands rest on the table, inches apart. Kiara feels the space between them like an electric current. All she'd have to do is move her hand slightly, and they'd be touching. She doesn't move. Neither does he. They exist in that charged space, both aware of the line they're not crossing. Her phone vibrates, shattering the moment. Marcus's name on the screen. "Where are you?" Reality crashes back. "I should go." June nods, pulls his hand back carefully. "See you next time." Kiara packs quickly, fingers clumsy with adrenaline and something else she doesn't want to name. On the walk to her car, she realizes something terrifying. She's falling for the man who refuses to save her, but insists she can save herself. And that feels more dangerous than anything Marcus has ever done. At home, Marcus is waiting in the kitchen. Arms crossed, expression neutral. "Where were you?" "Library, working on my course." "Until 9:30? It requires concentration. It's quiet there." He studies her face like he's looking for evidence of a crime. "This course is becoming a problem." "How?" "I'm still working full-time. Still maintaining the house. Still..." "You're distracted. Distant." He steps closer. "Ever since you started this project, you've been different." "It's not a project. It's something meaningful to me." "More meaningful than us?" The question is a trap. Perfectly designed to make her wrong no matter how she answers. "That's not a fair question." "I'm trying to understand, Kiara. I really am." His voice softens, the dangerous softness that means the knife is coming. "I support your interests, but you need to be realistic. You're not 22 anymore. This fantasy about being a designer, it's not practical." "I'm not fantasizing. I'm learning a skill." "For what?" "You have a stable job. We have a life. Why disrupt everything for something that won't lead anywhere?" "Maybe it doesn't have to lead anywhere. Maybe it just has to make me happy." Marcus straightens. His expression shudders completely. "And I don't make you happy?" "That's not what I said. It's what you implied." Kiara feels the walls closing in. Every word she speaks gets twisted, weaponized, used as evidence of her failure as a wife. I'm going to bed. That's your answer? Walking away? She turns back, exhaustion replacing fear. What do you want me to say, Marcus? I want you to remember who stood by you, who married you when you had nothing, who built this life with you. He steps even closer, invading her space without touching her. I'm not the enemy here. That course, those ideas, they're putting thoughts in your head that don't belong there. They're my thoughts. Are they? His eyes narrow. Or are they from whoever's encouraging this? That librarian you keep talking about? She never mentioned June. Never said his name at home. Her blood runs cold. Are you tracking me? I'm your husband. I notice things. He says it like it's normal, like surveillance is love. I notice when my wife starts lying about where she is, when she stops wearing her wedding ring to bed, when she looks at me like I'm a stranger. Kiara realizes with horror that he's right about the ring. She's been taking it off at night for 2 weeks, unable to sleep with its weight on her finger. I'm not having this conversation right now. She walks to the bedroom, shaking. Locks the door, something she's never done in 7 years of marriage. Sits on the edge of the bed and presses her palms against her eyes until she sees stars. His words echo. Who married you when you had nothing? As if she's a debt. As if 7 years of silence and smallness is payment owed for the privilege of being his wife. The weekend is frozen silence. Marcus doesn't speak to her Saturday. Sunday, he sits in the living room with the television on, but Kiara knows he's not watching. He's performing coldness, demonstrating what her life will be like if she continues down this path. Monday, he leaves for work without saying goodbye. Tuesday, he comes home and eats dinner without looking at her once. Wednesday night, Denise calls. You sound different, strained. What happened? Kiara tells her everything. The confrontation, the accusation about June, the tracking, the silence. Oh, honey. Denise's voice is gentle but urgent. You know what you need to do. I don't know if I can. You can. You're already halfway there. That's why he's panicking. What if I'm wrong? What if this is just a phase and I'm throwing away a perfectly good marriage for... Stop. Denise's voice sharpens. Listen to yourself. Perfectly good marriage? Kiara, you sound like you're describing a used car, not a relationship between equals. The truth of it lands like a slap. After they hang up, Kiara sits in the bathroom with her laptop and works on her final course project. A complete brand identity for a fictional nonprofit supporting domestic abuse survivors. Logo, color palette, typography system, business cards, website mock-up, social media templates. She pours everything into it. Every ounce of frustration and fear and desperate hope. She submits it at 11:47 p.m. The confirmation message appears. Thank you for completing graphic design fundamentals. Your work has shown tremendous growth over these 6 weeks. The instructor panel has noted exceptional quality in your final project. Keep creating. The world needs what you make. Kiara closes the laptop and looks at herself in the bathroom mirror. Same face, different eyes. She's not the woman who started this course 6 weeks ago. She's not the woman who married Marcus 7 years ago. She's someone new. Or maybe someone old. Finally unearthed from 7 years of burial. Thursday morning. Marcus knocks softly on the bedroom door. She's been sleeping with it locked for 5 nights. He hasn't mentioned it. Kiara, can we talk? She's been awake since 4 a.m., staring at the ceiling, counting cracks, counting breaths, counting reasons to stay versus reasons to go. She opens the door. He looks tired, genuinely remorseful. Lines around his eyes she hasn't noticed before. I'm sorry about the past week. I overreacted. She waits. This whole situation, the course, you being distant. I'm worried. About you. About us. He reaches for her hand carefully, like approaching a spooked animal. Let me take you to dinner tonight. Somewhere nice. just us. We haven't done that in forever. Kiara looks at his hand holding hers. Feels nothing. No warmth. No connection. Just pressure. Please, he adds. Let me try to fix this. Guilt wraps around her throat. Maybe she has been unfair. Maybe he deserves a chance to prove he can change. Okay. Relief floods his face. Genuine relief, like he's been terrified of losing her. Maybe he has been. Maybe underneath all the control, there's fear. Great. I'll make a reservation at Marcello's. That Italian place you loved. 7 o'clock. Wear that blue dress I like. The one he likes, not the one she likes. She notes this but says nothing. Marcello's is downtown, all white tablecloths and candlelight and couples celebrating anniversaries. Marcus holds her chair out, orders wine without asking what she wants, asks about her week with attentive interest he hasn't shown in months. How's Denise? You mentioned her son got into grad school. He did. University of Michigan. Full scholarship. That's wonderful. You must be proud. I am. He's a good kid. Marcus reaches across the table and takes her hand. His thumb strokes her knuckles in slow, deliberate circles. I've been thinking a lot this week. About us. How we got off track. He squeezes her hand. Life got busy. Work consumed me. I stopped prioritizing what matters most. You, our marriage, our partnership. The words sound rehearsed, like he's been practicing. But we can fix this, he continues. We can get back to how things were. Remember when we first got married? How happy we were. Kiara tries to remember. Can only recall feeling relieved that someone wanted her. That someone thought she was enough. Not happiness. Just relief. We could plan that trip to the Bahamas we always talked about, Marcus says. Take a week. Just us. Reconnect. We can't afford. I'll make it work. You're worth it. He leans forward, eyes sincere. But it means both of us recommitting, letting go of distractions. That course, the late nights at the library, they're symptoms of us drifting apart. We fix us, and you won't need those escapes. There it is. The condition. The cost of his love. Marcus, the course isn't a distraction. It's something I care about deeply. I understand that. But relationships require sacrifice. You know that. What are you sacrificing? The question clearly catches him off guard. His expression flickers, just for half a second, from understanding to something harder. Irritated. I sacrificed my freedom when I married you. My ability to make unilateral decisions. I consider you in everything I do. That's what marriage is. That's not sacrifice. That's just not being a selfish person. Exactly my point. So be my partner. Stop chasing a college dream that's already over. Kiara slowly pulls her hand away. Her heart pounds. What if I don't want it to be over? Then you're being selfish. The word lands like a gavel. Final judgment. Maybe I am, she says quietly. Maybe I need to be. Marcus's expression shifts from conciliatory to cold in seconds. What does that mean? It means I don't want to go back to how we were before. The words hang in the air between them. Other diners continue eating, laughing, celebrating. Oblivious to the marriage cracking apart at table 14. What? His voice is barely above a whisper. I was disappearing, Marcus. For 7 years, I've been erasing myself to fit into your idea of what a wife should be. That's dramatic. It's true. And I can't do it anymore. He leans back in his chair, studying her like she's a stranger. You've changed. Yes. This is what that librarian did to you, isn't it? June didn't do anything. He just reminded me I'm allowed to exist as more than your accessory. Marcus's jaw clenches. He pulls his wallet out, throws $200 on the table, far more than the meal costs, and stands. I want to go home. Now. They drive in frozen silence. 23 minutes that feel like hours. When they pull into the driveway, Marcus doesn't turn off the engine. Get out. What? I need to drive. Clear my head. Get out. Kiara gets out, watches him reverse violently, tires squealing, and disappear down the street. She stands in the dark driveway, shaking, and realizes she's crossed a line. There's no going back now. Marcus doesn't come home that night. Kiara lies awake in their bed, her bed now, listening to every car that passes, wondering if it's him. He returns Friday morning at 6 a.m., showers, changes, leaves for work without speaking. The silence continues through the weekend. He sleeps on the couch, eats meals in his car, treats her like a ghost haunting their own house. Monday night, Kiara sits on the bathroom floor and calls Denise. He's punishing me. By giving you the silent treatment? By showing me what life without him looks like, trying to scare me into apologizing. Are you scared? Kiara considers this. No, I'm relieved. It's easier when he's not speaking to me. That tells you everything, doesn't it? It does. It tells her everything. Tuesday night, Kiara starts a new course, Advanced Logo Design. She's not ready to stop learning just because the first course ended. She works at the library. June brings tea. Sits across from her. How are you? He asks quietly. Terrible. Relieved. Terrified. Free. She laughs, but it's hollow. All of it at once. That sounds right. I told Marcus I don't want to go back to how things were. June goes very still. What did he say? He's not speaking to me. Sleeping on the couch, proving I can't survive without him. Can you? I don't know. But I'd rather find out than spend another 7 years disappearing. June reaches across the table, stops just short of touching her hand. Kiara, I need to tell you something. Her heart stops. What? When my sister was trying to leave her husband, the most dangerous time was right before she actually left, when he realized he was losing control. He looks at her with urgent intensity. Marcus is escalating. The silence, the punishment, it's a tactic. He's trying to break you before you break free. I know. Do you have somewhere safe you can go? The question makes it real, makes it not theoretical. Denise offered her couch if I ever need it. Do you need it? Kiara thinks about the house full of Arctic silence, about Marcus tracking her movements, about feeling like a prisoner in her own life. Maybe. Don't, maybe. Either you're safe or you're not. He's never hurt me physically. There are a lot of ways to hurt someone. June's voice is gentle but firm. My sister said the same thing for years. And then one day he put his hands around her throat and... He stops. Takes a breath. I'm not saying Marcus will do that. I'm saying don't wait to find out. Kiara's hands shake around her teacup. I'm scared. You should be. You're about to rebuild your entire life. That's terrifying. What if I fail? Then you'll fail knowing you tried, that you chose yourself. Their fingers are so close. Not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth. I don't know how to leave, Kiara whispers. Yes, you do. You just haven't given yourself permission yet. Wednesday, 2 a.m. Kiara can't sleep. She gets up quietly, goes to the dresser, and opens the bottom drawer. The manila envelope. Her old projects. She pulls it out and spreads everything across the bed beside her sleeping bag. She's been sleeping in the bedroom while Marcus claims the couch, but it feels more like camping in enemy territory than rest. She looks at each project with new eyes. Not as relics of a lost past, but as blueprints for a possible future. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is June. Got your number from the library registration form. I hope that's okay. I just wanted to say, I see you choosing yourself. It's the bravest thing I've ever watched someone do. J. Kiara reads the message 3 times. Her vision blurs with tears she won't let fall yet. She types, "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." His response is immediate. You were always there. You just needed permission to look. She stares at the message. Then she opens a new note on her phone and types, "Reasons to stay. Financial security. Avoiding judgment from family. Fear of the unknown. Guilt. Reasons to go. I can breathe when I'm not here. I'm learning who I am again. I deserve more than silence and control. I want to create things. I want to exist without permission. I deserve to exist without permission." The second list is longer. She reads it 5 times, then screenshots it. Sends it to Denise with a message. "Can I still take you up on that couch offer?" The response comes 60 seconds later. "It's yours whenever you need it." "Do you need it now?" Kiara looks around the bedroom, at the ceiling cracks, at the dresser full of clothes she doesn't like but Marcus thinks are appropriate, at the curtains he chose because they matched the aesthetic. She types, "Not tonight, but soon. Very soon. I'll be ready. So will you." Kiara sets her phone down and makes a decision that's 7 years in the making. She's leaving. Not someday. Not when things get worse. Soon. Thursday, she calls in sick to work, her first sick day in 2 years. Spends the day opening a new bank account at a different branch. Transfers half of her last 3 paychecks. It's not much, but it's hers. Friday, she packs a small bag. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, chargers. The manila envelope. Her grandmother's watch. The necklace from her mother. She hides the bag in her car trunk under a blanket. Saturday morning, Marcus wakes her at 7 a.m. "We need to talk." She sits up. He's standing in the doorway, arms crossed. "About what?" "About this. Us. Whatever this is." He sits on the edge of the bed, the first time he's entered the bedroom in a week. "I don't like who you've become." The honesty is startling. "I don't like who I was," she replies. "The woman you wanted me to be. I never asked you to be anyone but yourself." "Yes, you did. Every single day. You just did it quietly." He shakes his head. "You're rewriting history, making me the villain in some story you've invented." "I'm not inventing anything. I'm finally seeing clearly." "No." His voice hardens. "You're being manipulated. By that course, by Denise, by that librarian. Stop blaming other people for the fact that I woke up." Marcus stands abruptly. "Fine. You want to throw away 7 years for some fantasy? Go ahead. But don't come crying to me when reality hits and you realize you gave up everything for nothing. The only nothing here is what I've become in this marriage." He stares at her. Really looks at her. And for the first time in 7 years, she doesn't look away. "You're making a mistake," he says finally. "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make." He leaves the bedroom. She hears him moving around the house, drawers opening, keys jingling. Then the front door slams. Kiara waits 5 minutes. Then she pulls out her phone and texts Denise, "I need the couch. Today. Can I come now?" "Yes. Come right now. I'll be here." She grabs the bag from her trunk, adds a few more items from the bedroom, her toothbrush, the book on her nightstand. One framed photo, not of her and Marcus, but of her at her college graduation, genuinely smiling. She looks around the house one last time. 7 years compressed into furniture and paint colors and appliances. Then she takes off her wedding ring. It resists. 7 years of wear has created an indent in her finger. She has to twist it, pull hard. It finally comes off, leaving a pale band of skin that looks like a scar. She sets the ring on the kitchen table, pulls out the note she wrote last night. "Marcus, I need to find myself. This marriage has been erasing me slowly for 7 years, and I can't lose any more of myself. This isn't entirely your fault. It's mine too, for accepting to disappear. I don't know what happens next. But I know I can't stay. Corn." She leaves the note beside the ring, picks up her bag, walks out the front door, gets in her car, drives away from the house that stopped being a home 3 years ago. In the rearview mirror, the house gets smaller. Then it turns a corner and disappears completely. Kiara drives to Denise's apartment with tears streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief so profound it feels like dying and being born simultaneously. She's left. Actually left. The first truly free breath in 7 years fills her lungs. Denise opens the door in her bathrobe before Kiara even knocks, like she's been waiting by the window. She takes one look at Kiara's face and pulls her inside. "You did it." Kiara nods. Can't speak yet. If she speaks, she'll fall apart completely. Denise guides her to the small couch, wraps a soft blanket around her shoulders, disappears into the kitchen, returns with hot coffee and a plate of toast. "Eat. You look like you haven't eaten in days." "I can't." "Eat." Kiara takes a bite, chews mechanically, forces it down, takes another. They sit in silence for 20 minutes while morning light fills the small apartment. Denise doesn't push, doesn't ask questions, just exists beside her, solid and present. Finally, Kiara speaks. "What now?" "Now you breathe." "That's it? That's everything." Kiara drinks her coffee. Looks around the apartment, small but bright, with plants in every window and art on the walls. Evidence of a person who lives here, not just exists. "How long did it take you?" she asks. "To feel normal again after leaving?" Define normal. Denise refills both their cups. "If you mean, when did I stop jumping at every sound, thinking he'd find me?" 6 months. "If you mean, when did I stop feeling guilty?" 1 year. "If you mean, when did I wake up and feel genuinely happy?" 2 years. 2 years. But I was breathing again after 1 day. Everything else was just learning to trust that I was allowed to. Kiara closes her eyes. He's going to call. Probably. He's going to say I'm making a mistake, that I'm throwing everything away, that I'll regret this. Also, probably, what do I do? Nothing. You don't have to respond. You don't owe him closure or explanation or comfort. Denise leans forward. You already left your note. That's more than enough. The rest is him learning to accept what you've decided. Kiara's phone buzzes in her pocket. She knows without looking it's Marcus. She turns the phone off completely. Can I stay here a few weeks? Until I figure out my next step? You can stay as long as you need. Guest room is yours. I'll pay rent. You'll save your money and get your own place when you're ready. Consider this an investment in your future that I'm honored to make. Kiara's eyes sting. Why are you doing this? Because someone did it for me. And because you remind me of who I was. And because watching you choose yourself gives me hope that all the pain was worth it. They sit together in Denise's sunny apartment while the world wakes up outside. Car engines starting, birds singing, people walking dogs. Life continuing like it always does, even when your entire world has just cracked open. Kiara doesn't sleep that night in the unfamiliar guest room. Doesn't cry either. Just lies in a bed that isn't hers, in a room that isn't hers, breathing air that feels different, lighter. At 6 a.m., she gets up and watches sunrise through the window, pink and orange spreading across the sky like watercolor paint. The first dawn of her new life. She survived the night. She survived leaving. Now she just has to survive becoming herself again. Sunday afternoon, Kiara goes to the library. She needs familiar ground. Needs a place that feels safe and separate from both her old life and her temporary new one. June is at the front desk, scanning returned books with his usual methodical attention. He looks up, sees her, and his entire expression shifts. Relief washing over his features so clearly she can read it from across the room. She walks slowly to the back table. Her table. Sits. Sets her bag down. Just breathes. 5 minutes later, June appears with chamomile tea. He sets it down gently. Then something in his face changes. His eyes catch on her left hand. No ring. He observes quietly. Kiara looks at her bare hand. The tan line is still visible, a ghost of what was there. No ring. Are you safe? The question makes her throat tight. I'm staying with Denise. I left yesterday morning. June exhales slowly like he's been holding his breath for weeks. How do you feel? Terrified, relieved, guilty, free, sad, hopeful. She wraps her hands around the warm cup. All of it at once, all the time. That sounds right. He pulls out the chair across from her. Only the third time he's sat with her, and it still feels monumental, important, like he's respecting the gravity of the moment. Can I sit? He asks, even though he's already pulling the chair out. Please. They sit in silence for a minute. The library is busier on Sundays. Families, students, elderly couples reading newspapers together. Life happening all around them while they exist in this small pocket of quiet. Thank you, Kiara finally says. For what? For everything. For the tea that first night, for the flyer, for listening, for reminding me I existed. Her voice cracks. For not saving me. June adjusts his glasses. That nervous tell of his. I couldn't save you. Only you could do that. I know. That's why I'm thanking you. Because you understood that. You never tried to pull me out. You just stayed close enough for me to remember the way. My sister almost disappeared completely because everyone tried to save her. Tried to tell her what to do. And it made her defensive. Made her cling harder to the marriage. He looks down at his own hands. I watched it happen. I was young. Didn't understand. By the time I realized how bad it was, she was already gone. Completely erased. But she got out eventually. She did. 3 years of secret planning. Hiding money. Finding resources. Building an escape route. He meets Kiara's eyes. But it took that long because everyone kept trying to force her. I swore if I ever saw someone else drowning like that, I'd do it differently. Is that all I was? A second chance to not fail your sister? No. His voice is firm. At first, maybe. But then I got to know you, and I realized you weren't drowning. You were holding your breath, waiting for permission to surface. What changed? You stopped waiting for permission. Kiara stares at him across the small table. At this quiet man who works in a library and changes light bulbs and makes tea, and somehow saw her when she couldn't see herself. I'm divorced, she says. Officially, as of yesterday. I left the ring and a note and just left. How does it feel? Like jumping off a cliff and discovering I have wings I forgot about. June smiles. A real smile that transforms his whole face. You always had wings. They were just folded too long. They sit together for 3 hours. Kiara works on her new course assignments. June reads a book, something about Korean diaspora poetry. Occasionally one of them comments on something. Mostly they just exist in comfortable silence. When the library closes at 7, they walk out together. Stand in the parking lot under streetlights that buzz and flicker. Can I ask you something? Kiara says. Always. Why did you text me? That night I decided to leave. How did you know? June looks up at the dark sky. I didn't know. I just had a feeling you were at a crossroads, and I wanted you to know someone saw you, that someone believed you could do it. Do you have feelings for me? The question hangs in the cold air between them. June is quiet for a long moment. Yes. Her heart stops. But, he continues, you just left a 7-year marriage. You're rebuilding your entire life. The last thing you need is someone else's expectations or feelings complicating that. What if I want them to complicate it? You don't. Not really. You think you do because I was kind when you were drowning. But that's not love. That's gratitude. The words hurt because they might be true. How long? She asks. How long do I wait before I know what I actually feel? There's no timeline. You'll know when you're ready. He zips up his coat. Until then, I'll keep making tea. And I'll keep being here whenever you need quiet. He walks to his car, leaving her standing in the parking lot with cooling tea and a heart that doesn't know if it's breaking or healing. Maybe both. Maybe that's what becoming yourself feels like. 3 months pass. Kiara finds a studio apartment in early December. Tiny, barely 400 square feet, but hers. She paints the walls pale yellow, hangs her old design projects like art, buys a second-hand desk where she sets up her laptop. Every morning, she wakes up in that small space and breathes without restriction. She applies to 17 junior designer positions, gets rejected by 13, doesn't hear back from 2, gets interviews with 2 others. The first interview is a disaster. She's nervous, stumbles over questions about software proficiency, leaves feeling defeated. The second interview is at a small branding agency called Spark Creative. The owner, a woman named Lisa with bright purple glasses, looks at Kiara's portfolio for 20 minutes without speaking. This is good work for someone who just finished a basic course. Thank you. But your logo work, it's more than good. It's thoughtful. Tell me about your process. Kiara talks for 15 minutes. About negative space and visual metaphor, and the importance of simplicity. About how good design solves problems invisibly. Lisa leans back. You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing someone who thinks like a designer, not someone who took a course to add a skill. Someone who sees the world this way. I used to, a long time ago. I'm trying to remember how. When can you start? Kiara blinks. What? We need a junior designer. Part-time to start, 20 hours a week. Pay isn't great, but you'll build your portfolio fast. If you prove yourself, we'll talk full-time in 6 months. Kiara's hands shake. Are you offering me the job? I am. She starts crying in the middle of the interview. Lisa hands her tissues and waits patiently. I'm so sorry, don't apologize. This is a good reaction. Kiara takes the job, starts the following Monday. Marcus calls weekly for the first month. She doesn't answer. He sends emails, apologies, promises, bargaining, then anger, then silence. She reads the first few, then stops, archives them unread. Her mother calls in January trying to mediate. Sweetie, Marcus says you won't talk to him, that you just left without warning. I left a note. A note isn't a conversation. It's all he gets. Kiara's voice is firm. Mom, I was disappearing in that marriage. For 7 years, I made myself smaller and smaller until there was almost nothing left. Marriage is work. It's not supposed to be erasure. Her mother is quiet for a long moment. Are you happy now? Kiara considers this honestly. I'm not happy yet, but I'm real, and that matters more. The library becomes her second home again. She goes 3 nights a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. June is always there, steady and present, asking nothing. They talk. Small conversations about books and weather and design trends, and the strange comfort of routine. He tells her about growing up in Seoul, moving to Chicago at 15, feeling caught between 2 worlds. She tells her about her dream of eventually opening her own studio. You will, he says with absolute certainty. How do you know? Because you stopped asking permission to want things. One Thursday in February, she shows him her portfolio. 30 new projects created in the 4 months since leaving Marcus. Logos, branding packages, website mock-ups, evidence of resurrection. June goes through each one carefully, giving every piece the attention it deserves. When he finishes, he looks up. These are incredible. You're biased. I'm honest. There's a difference. He closes the portfolio carefully. You've become yourself again. You can see it in the work. I had help. You did the work. I just made tea and stayed close. Kiara reaches across the table and takes his hand. Just holds it. He doesn't pull away. Just wraps his fingers around hers and holds on. They don't talk about what it means. They don't have to. March brings her first real project at Spark Creative. A local restaurant chain wants to rebrand. Complete overhaul of logo, menu design, signage, social media presence. Lisa assigns Kiara to the team. She works 80-hour weeks for a month, staying up until 3 a.m. perfecting layouts, obsessing over font pairings, sketching ideas until her hand cramps. She loves every second. When they present to the client, Kiara is shaking. She's never presented professional work before, never pitched her ideas to people with money on the line. But she speaks clearly, walks them through the concept: heritage meets modern, comfort food elevated, family-owned but professional. The client chooses her design. She calls Denise from the office bathroom, crying. "I did it. They chose mine." Of course they did, because you're brilliant and you finally believe it. That night, she goes to the library. June has tea waiting. He always knows her schedule somehow. "Big news?" he asks, reading her face. "Huge. My first real client project. They chose my design." His smile is genuine, proud. "I knew they would." "How?" "Because I've been watching you come back to yourself for 6 months, and the person you're becoming is unstoppable." April brings a promotion. Associate designer. Her own projects. A small office with a window. May brings her first freelance client outside the agency, a friend of Denise's who needs a logo. The friend tells 2 other people. Those people tell 3 more. By June, she's freelancing on weekends. Small projects, but they're hers. Her decisions, her creativity, her name on the work. "I think I could go full-time," she tells June one Friday night. "Freelance, I mean. I've been doing the math. If I'm careful, if I keep my expenses low, I could make it work." "Do you want to?" "Desperately, but it's terrifying." Everything worthwhile is terrifying. She makes the leap in July, gives notice at Spark Creative. Lisa understands. "You were always going to outgrow us. Just promise you'll send clients our way when you're too busy. You'll be my first referral partner." Her mother visits in August. First time seeing Kiara's apartment. She stands in the middle of the tiny studio, looking at the design projects on the walls, the desk covered in sketches, the small kitchen where Kiara cooks meals for one. "This is really what you want?" her mother asks. "This small space? Alone?" "Yes. Are you happy?" Kiara thinks about this. "I'm building something, Mom. Slowly. My own business, my own life, my own identity. I haven't reached happy yet, but I'm on my way." Her mother's eyes fill with tears. "I'm trying to understand." "I know. You seem different. Lighter. I haven't seen you look this alive in years." "I wasn't alive. I was performing." Her mother sits on the small couch. "Did I teach you that? To perform? To make yourself small?" The question catches Kiara off guard. "What?" "Your father and I, we weren't always kind to each other. I stayed because I thought I had to. Maybe you learned that from me." "Mom, I'm glad you left. I wish I'd had your courage." She takes Kiara's hands. "Keep going, baby. Don't stop. Even if it's hard. Especially if it's hard." Kiara hugs her mother and cries into her shoulder like she's 15 again. Some wounds heal backwards. Daughter showing mother that escape is possible, that life exists after leaving. September. 1 year since Kiara first walked into the library looking for silence. The leaves turn gold again. The air sharpens. The world cycles through another autumn, while Kiara's life looks nothing like it did 12 months ago. She sits at her table, still her table, always will be, working on a logo for a nonprofit supporting domestic abuse survivors. The irony isn't lost on her. Neither is the importance. June sits across from her with a book of poetry. He's not reading, just watching her work with quiet contentment. "What?" she asks, smiling without looking up. "Just thinking." "About? How far you've come." She saves her work, closes the laptop, looks at him fully. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You could have. You would have. I just happened to be here." "No. You chose to be here. You chose to see me. That's different." June sets down his book, leans forward slightly. "Kiara, can I tell you something?" Always. I've been in love with you since the night you showed me the eco-friendly clothing logo. The one with the leaf and hanger. Her breath catches. But I didn't say anything because you were healing. And I didn't want to be another man putting his needs before yours. He takes off his glasses, cleans them, his nervous tell. I still don't want to be that. What if I'm done healing? Are you? She considers this honestly. I'm not done. I don't think healing has an endpoint, but I'm healed enough to know what I want. What do you want? You. This. Whatever this could become. She reaches across the table, takes his hand fully. I want someone who sees me and doesn't try to change me, who makes tea and doesn't expect gratitude, who understands that love is presence, not possession. June stands, walks around the table, pulls her to her feet. They stand inches apart in the quiet library, rain starting to drum against the windows outside. I'm not going to save you, he says softly. I don't need saving. I already saved myself. What do you need? Someone who stays, who lets me breathe, who chooses me without demanding I be smaller. I can do that. Kiara rises on her toes and kisses him. Gentle at first, tentative, then deeper. A promise, a beginning. When they break apart, June rests his forehead against hers. You buried hope for 7 years, and you dug it up with your bare hands. I had help. You did the digging. I just held the light. They stand together while rain falls and the library empties and Mr. Hassan, June's boss, the elderly man with kind eyes, discreetly turns away from the scene with a knowing smile. October, 1 year since Kiara left Marcus. She wakes in her tiny apartment, yellow walls glowing with morning sun, makes coffee, opens her laptop to check emails, 3 new project inquiries, a graphic design blog wants to feature her work. A former classmate saw her portfolio online and wants to collaborate. Life building itself one small piece at a time. She and June take things slowly. Coffee dates on Sunday mornings. Long walks through the park where leaves crunch underfoot. Conversations that stretch past midnight. He meets Denise, who pulls Kiara aside afterward and whispers, "That man looks at you like you hung the moon." I'm scared I'll mess it up. You won't. You know the difference now between someone who wants you smaller and someone who wants you whole. At Thanksgiving, Kiara has dinner with Denise and June's sister Minji, who's visiting from Seattle. Minji is radiant, pregnant, happily remarried, laughing so loud it startles everyone. She pulls Kiara aside while June and Denise argue about whether pumpkin pie needs whipped cream. "Thank you," Minji says quietly. "For what?" "For letting my brother heal. He's been carrying guilt about me for years, watching you choose yourself. It let him forgive himself." Kiara's throat tightens. "I didn't do anything. You did everything. You proved that people can leave, can survive, can be happy again." Minji squeezes her hand. "That's not nothing." December brings unexpected success. One of Kiara's freelance clients, a sustainable fashion startup, goes viral on social media. Their brand identity, which she designed for a fraction of what she should have charged, gets featured in 3 major design publications. Her inbox explodes, 27 inquiries in 1 week. She has to start turning projects down because she can't keep up. "This is a good problem," June says one night as they sit in her apartment, surrounded by sketches and half-empty coffee cups. "It's terrifying. What if I can't deliver? What if I'm not actually good enough?" "You are good enough. Your work speaks for itself." He picks up one of her sketches, a logo for an environmental nonprofit, a tree that's also a hand reaching upward. "This is brilliant. You know that, right?" "I'm learning to believe it." "Keep learning." She applies for a small business loan in January, gets approved in February, signs a lease on a tiny office space in March, just 1 room with a window overlooking the street, but it has her name on the door. Kiara Rowe Design. She stands outside on move-in day, staring at those words, and cries. Denise helps her move in, brings a plant for the windowsill. Every new beginning needs something alive. June brings tea and a framed photo, the first one he ever took of her at the library, sitting at her table with her laptop, completely absorbed. She didn't know he'd taken it. When did you... 6 months ago. You were working on that restaurant rebrand. You had this look on your face, pure concentration, pure you. He sets it on her new desk. So you never forget what finding yourself looks like. April. A 1.5 years since leaving Marcus. Kiara is sitting in her office, working on a pitch deck for a major client, when her phone rings. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. But something makes her pick up. Hello? Kiara. It's Marcus. Her blood goes cold. She hasn't heard his voice in over a year. I'm calling because I thought you should know. I'm engaged. Silence. Her name is Jennifer. We met at work. The wedding's in June. He pauses. I wanted to tell you before you heard from someone else. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I don't know. Maybe that you're sorry? That you regret throwing away what we had? Kiara looks around her office, at her name on the door, at the projects covering her walls, at the life she built from ruins. I don't regret it. Not even a little bit. You will. When you're 40 and alone and realize you gave up a good man for some fantasy career that won't keep you warm at night. The words are designed to hurt. A year ago they would have worked. Now they just sound sad. I hope you're happy, Marcus. I really do. I hope Jennifer knows what she's getting into. I hope she's allowed to exist. What's that supposed to mean? It means I hope you've learned something. But I don't think you have. She hangs up before he can respond. Sits at her desk, hands shaking, heart pounding. Then she picks up her phone and texts June. Marcus called. He's getting married. The response comes 30 seconds later. How do you feel? Free. Finally completely free. Good. That's exactly how you should feel. Want company tonight? Yes, please. That evening, June comes over with takeout and sits with her on the floor of her apartment while she processes. It's strange, she says. 7 years of marriage, and I feel nothing about him moving on. Just relief, because he was never yours, and you were never his. You were both playing roles. What am I now? June tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. Now you're just you, and that's more than enough. May brings her biggest project yet. A tech startup wants complete brand development, naming, logo, visual identity system, website, marketing materials, 6-figure contract. Kiara negotiates hard. Doesn't undersell herself, gets the deal, signs the contract with hands that don't shake anymore. June. Her mother calls on a Saturday morning. I left your father. Kiara nearly drops her phone. What? I left him, 3 days ago. I'm staying with your Aunt Carol. Her mother's voice is shaky but determined. I watched you rebuild your life, and I realized I'm 62. If I don't leave now, I never will. Mom? I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm breathing. For the first time in 40 years, I'm breathing. Kiara's eyes fill with tears. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. You showed me it was possible. They talk for 2 hours. Kiara gives her the names of her divorce lawyer, her therapist, every resource she used. Promises to help however she can. When they hang up, Kiara sits in her office and thinks about cycles breaking. About daughters saving mothers by saving themselves first. About how courage spreads like wildfire when someone is brave enough to light the match. December, 18 months since Kiara walked out of her marriage. Winter settles over the city. The first snow falls on a Thursday afternoon, coating everything in clean white silence. Kiara sits at the library. Her table, her space. Working on a logo for a women's shelter that provides resources for domestic abuse survivors. The project is pro bono, she insisted. Some work matters more than money. June sits across from her with a book, but he's not reading. He's watching her work with that expression he gets. Quiet contentment, like witnessing something sacred. "What?" she asks without looking up, smiling. "Just thinking about something. Share your thoughts. Do you remember the first night you came here?" She saves her work, closes her laptop, gives him her full attention. Cold, broken, desperate for anywhere that wasn't home. You sat right there, shaking. I changed that light bulb and you looked up at me like I'd performed a miracle. He leans forward. "You asked me if I was okay. You asked me first. And you almost said yes." Almost gave the automatic lie. But something stopped you. Kiara reaches across the table, takes his hand. "You stopped me. The way you asked. Like you actually wanted to know the answer. Like my truth mattered." It did. It does. They sit in comfortable silence while snow continues falling outside, the world transforming into something clean and new. "I need to tell you something," Kiara says. "Okay. I'm happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Not performing it, not working toward it. Just am." June's smile is soft, genuine. "I can see it. You look different than that first night. Like you're in color now instead of grayscale. I signed the lease on a bigger office yesterday. 2 rooms, planning to hire an assistant next year." "That's incredible." "And I put a down payment on a condo. 1 bedroom, but it has a balcony and huge windows and it's mine. Completely mine." Her voice cracks slightly. 2 years ago, I was sleeping on Denise's couch, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Do you still wonder? Never. Not once. Leaving Marcus was the only way to find myself again. June squeezes her hand. You didn't find yourself. You unearthed yourself. There's a difference. What's the difference? Finding implies you were lost. But you were never lost. Just buried. And you dug yourself out with bare hands and stubbornness and faith you didn't even know you had. Outside, the snow falls heavier now. Inside, the library is warm and quiet and smells like old paper and possibility. "What you said to me that night," Kiara says quietly. "About hope not dying. About it just going underground, waiting. I remember. You were right. I buried my hope with that marriage. Every dream I had, every version of myself I could have been. I buried it all trying to be small enough to fit into his idea of a wife. And now? Now I'm remembering that hope doesn't need permission. It just needs a little space to breathe." Mr. Hassan walks by, pushing his cart of books to be reshelved. He glances at them. 2 people holding hands across a library table, talking in low voices while snow falls, and smiles to himself. He's seen this story before, has lived his own version, knows how precious it is when someone finds their way back to themselves. He leaves them alone. June stands, walks around the table, pulls Kiara to her feet. "Come here." She stands, and he wraps his arms around her. Just holds her. No agenda, no expectation, just presence. "Thank you," she whispers into his shoulder. "For what?" "For not saving me. You didn't need saving. For reminding me I could save myself. You always knew. You just needed permission to remember." They stand together in the quiet library while the world outside turns white and clean. 2 people who found each other in the spaces between drowning and breathing. Christmas Eve, Kiara hosts dinner in her new condo, still mostly unfurnished but hers. Denise comes. June comes. Minji and her husband fly in from Seattle with their newborn daughter. They eat takeout Chinese food on paper plates because Kiara doesn't own real dishes yet. They laugh until their stomachs hurt. They toast with cheap wine from plastic cups. "To new beginnings," Denise says, raising her cup. "To courage," Minji adds. "To people who hold the light while others dig," June says, looking at Kiara. "To surviving," Kiara says quietly. "And then choosing to do more than just survive." They drink. Later, after everyone leaves, Kiara and June sit on her empty balcony in their coats, watching snow fall over the city. "What are you thinking?" he asks. "That 2 years ago I didn't know if I'd make it, if I'd survive leaving, if I'd ever feel whole again. And now? Now I know. I'm not the same person who walked into that library looking for silence. I'm not the person who stayed in a suffocating marriage because I thought I had to. I'm not the woman who asked permission to exist. Who are you now?" Kiara thinks about this, about her business with her name on the door, about her condo with huge windows, about the design work that sets her soul on fire, about the people who see her and celebrate her without demanding she be smaller. "I'm someone who buried hope for 7 years and then dug it up with bare hands. I'm someone who learned that wanting things doesn't make you selfish, that leaving doesn't make you a failure, that starting over at 33 is not too late." June takes her hand. "You know what I realized?" "What?" "Hope doesn't die. It just goes underground, waiting for someone brave enough to dig. I was terrified the whole time. Brave people always are." They sit together on the balcony while snow falls and the city sleeps, and a new year approaches. The future spreads out before them, uncertain, beautiful, theirs to build. Kiara leans her head on June's shoulder and thinks about the woman who walked into a library 18 months ago, thinks about wedding rings left on kitchen tables, about manila envelopes full of dreams, about chamomile tea and small kindnesses, and the revolutionary act of choosing yourself. "I love you," she says quietly. "I love you too. Not because you saved me. I know. Because you let me save myself. I know that too." They sit in comfortable silence. Two people who understand that love isn't rescue. It's witnessing. It's presence without possession. It's holding space for someone to become themselves without demanding they be anything else. New Year's Eve, Kiara goes to the library one last time before it closes for the holiday. She sits at her table, the one in the back corner, near the reference section nobody uses, and opens her laptop. Creates a new folder. 2026 Projects. The cursor blinks. Waiting. Ready. She thinks about everything that brought her here. Every small choice. Every terrified step. Every moment of choosing herself when it would have been easier to stay small. She opens a blank document and types. She buried her hope with the marriage. But hope doesn't die. It just waits to be unearthed. And sometimes all it takes is one person who sees you drowning and offers not rescue, but a reminder. You always knew how to swim. She saves the document, closes the laptop, looks around the library that became her sanctuary. At the light, June replaced that first night. At the table where she remembered who she was. At the space between then and now. June appears with chamomile tea, sets it down gently, sits across from her like he's done dozens of times before. "Last library night of the year," he observes. "Feels symbolic. Everything feels symbolic to you. You're a designer." She laughs. A real laugh. The kind that comes from deep in her chest where hope lives now. "What are you working on?" he asks. "Just writing something down. So I don't forget." "Forget what?" "That I was here. That I was drowning. That I climbed out." She wraps her hands around the warm cup. "That you helped without forcing. That I found my way back to myself. You could never forget that." "Maybe not. But sometimes we need to write our stories down. Make them real. Make them evidence that we survived." June reaches across the table. Their hands meet in the middle. No hesitation, no uncertainty. Just connection. "You didn't just survive, Kiara. You became." "Became what?" "Yourself. The most revolutionary thing a person can do." Outside, fireworks start early. Someone impatient for the new year. The sound echoes through the quiet library. Inside, two people sit at a table holding hands while the year dies, and a new one prepares to be born. Kiara looks at June. This quiet man, who changed light bulbs and made tea, and stayed close enough for her to remember the way home. "Thank you," she whispers. "For what?" "For everything. For nothing. For just being here. I'll always be here. Promise? Promise. They sit together in the warm library while the world outside celebrates endings and beginnings. While snow falls and fireworks bloom and time moves forward like it always does, indifferent to human suffering and human triumph both. But in this moment, in this space, none of that matters. What matters is this: a woman who buried herself found her way back to the surface. A woman who asked permission to exist learned to take up space without apology. A woman who disappeared became visible again. Hope doesn't die. It just waits. And Kiara stopped waiting. She dug with bare hands until she found herself again. And that small, terrifying, revolutionary act of choosing herself changed everything. She buried her hope with the marriage. He helped her find it without forcing anything. And in the end, she learned the most important truth. No one could save her but herself. Everyone else could only hold the light while she did the digging.